Hi, and welcome to Albaugh Rod TV. I just want to show you some of the finishing steps that I take on a rod. The last video that I had with this rod, it was coming out of the varnish tank. It was the first coat on both the butt and the tip. The butt went on to receive 2 more coats in the varnish tank, and the tip received 1 more additional coat. In between coats, what I did is I used 1000 grit sandpaper, and what I do is I lube it up with some boiled linseed oil, and I go through and I sand down any runs and any dust specks that I see. And once I get all those sanded, and of course I sand the wraps as well for runs and dust, and then I dipped it in again. And then I did that 1 more time, dipped it in again for a total of 3. After that, I let the rod sit for about 7 to 10 days. After that, I go through and it's time to start getting ready to polish the rod. I switch grits over to a 2000 grit sandpaper. My 2000 grit sandpaper, once again, I use boiled linseed oil as a lube, and I rub everywhere on the rod real lightly on each flat and on each wrap. And I'm breaking the shine of the varnish. When your rods come out to the tank, they're going to be real glossy. They're going to have a real reflective quality. They look nice, but that shine does need to be broken. So I knock it down with the 2000 grit. And then in order to bring that luster and that shine back, I got to polish out all the scratches I just put in with the 2000 grit. From there, I moved to a series of polishing powders. This powder is ground up rock. I use this from a rock tumbling kit. This is a step 3 or a stage 3, and this is a step 4 or stage 4. I don't know what the equivalent grit would be on sandpaper. It's extremely fine. I cut out a small swatch of felt, and once again I soak this swatch in some linseed oil as my lubricant, and I put the powder on there and I start rubbing the rod. I'll be generating a good amount of heat when I'm doing this, so there is some friction going on. That's polishing away the scratches. Once that's done, I'm going to rinse the rod off. Don't be afraid to use some water to rinse your rod off this time. It's ready for the stream. It's going to get wet. Run it underneath the sink. Get that grit off. Then of course I'm going to get another swatch of felt, and I'm going to use the stage 4 finer powder once again with the linseed oil and polish that up. I'm going to polish the entire rod once again. And once again, I'm going to be generating some heat because there's going to be a lot of friction. With the tips, of course you do want to be careful when you're polishing, going in one direction. If you're going too fast back and forth, you can catch a tip and snap your rod. That won't be a good day. After that, I'm going to rub it down with just some regular wet felt. Then, once it's all rinsed off, I'm going to cut a swatch from an old t-shirt, really soft cotton, and I'm going to put in some rubbing compound, automobile rubbing compound. I'm going to put it on the rod, and once again I'm going to repeat that procedure. Rinse that off, and then I'm going to get a new piece of clean t-shirt material, and I'm going to go to polishing compound. And then I'm going to polish it, of course generating the heat. Anytime you see a shiny spot that's brighter, that's a low point in your varnish. It's going to take a little more sanding. You might need to back up with your grits. Going back to a 2000, sanding it out to an even dull luster, and then of course working through your various grits once again to bring it back. You should get a nice reflective shine depending upon the varnish you use. I use a satin. I just like the nice luster of it. High gloss, you're going to have basically a high shiny gloss rod. And after it's all done, I'm going to go through with a coffee filter Kleenex, and then finish off buffing it up with the coffee filter. And then that's pretty much done. I got one last step to do, and that's going to be selecting a reel seat and installing it. The reel seat I selected for this is called a Leonard inspired reel seat. It's got the narrow band, it's got some real subtle detail, nice rounded dome cap, and got a little nice detail on the cork check. You're going to, in a nice walnut insert that I feel matches the blank really well. You're going to turn down your blank just with your hand and some sandpaper until your insert can fit. I glue it up with the same epoxy I use for the ferrules, 2-ton, 5-minute epoxy gel. Make sure everything's cleaned off. Make sure you put on your cork check before you glue it on. Definitely make sure if it's mortised that it's lined up with your strippers and your guides, and clean off any epoxy that's squeezed out with some acetone. And then, well, another important step is put your sliding band on before you glue on your butt cap. With the reel seats I sell on my website, you can always tell which way to orientate your bands by the decorative marks on them or the width of them. And once they're on, I use a little epoxy. Make sure you clean the inside and make sure you don't get any epoxy that's going to ooze over into this mortise. Put it on, piece of tape, let it dry. You know what? Go catch a fish.